Hello everyone, my name's Daniel, and I hate you too. So recently, I think like everyone else on the internet, we've all seen the whole super straight trend popping up, and like everyone else, I'm going to say the obvious, yeah, I think it's pretty fucking stupid. Now, short story long, let me elaborate why I believe that. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, a couple days ago there was some guy on TikTok talking about how he's tired of being called transphobic for not wanting to date trans people, so he made a new sexuality. Great fucking design, really love the direction you were going there. For people in the community of super straight people that don't want to date transgender people, because apparently it's more straight in every fucking way. Now, before I get into why I think that a lot of this stuff is stupid, I just want to make a couple clarifications. Now, if someone doesn't want to date someone because they don't see them physically attracted, they aren't their type, they have, genitals that they aren't, sexually attracted to, I think that is completely fair. I think that is fine. You should not be forced to be with someone that you don't want to. Here's the thing though. Say for example, you're looking for a guy and he's got the fucking body of Dwayne Johnson and a cock the circumference of a goddamn soda can. And everything's going fine with him until he says that he is transgender. Now, if that is the point where you start to get a little that's a little sus. So you're telling me that after everything that's been going fine with you guys, that's the one thing that kind of makes you a little iffy. Like, they don't look anything that isn't part of your standard. It's just the fact that they were born a sex that's opposite from their gender. Like, that's what makes you kind of go, Granted though, this is definitely just my opinion, but I do believe that if someone is transgender, they should disclose that with their partner because, it's better just for, communication and honesty's sake. And God forbid the person you're with actually is transphobic. You'd rather, not let them find out the hard way because, that'll probably be worse. Granted though, obviously, if someone doesn't want to date someone who's transgender because they want to have their own kids, I think that's fine. Granted though, I think people should stop having their own kids because I think the planet's about to fucking die at this rate. But nonetheless, I think it's fine. Now, the whole super straight community is clearly just a bunch of these people who don't want to date transgender people, presumably not because of genitalia or something, just because they're probably just going to generalize that all trans people don't even look like the gender that they're trying to, which is, stereotype that is literally false. Just look for yourself. Disclaimer, if you find someone trans to be unattractive because they have features from the sex that they are transitioning from, I would categorize that more as you just finding them unattractive, not necessarily a trans issue, as people can still have features that are more commonly seen within the opposite sex. But, there's been some really fucking asinine points that people are trying to pull out of their ass in defense of this whole belief. And many people saying that it's pointing out the hypocrisy of the gay community. Okay, now, I want to make something clear. I don't think there's a single fucking group of marginalized people that is completely in the right. The LGBT community is fucking rife with just a lot of bad shit. However, the points that I think people are trying to make when they talk about hypocrisy in the LGBT community is the guilting that a lot of people are forced to date others. Now, again, this is just a thing that I've seen on the internet from just, very crazy examples, but I think it's a very, if someone who is transgender is forcing someone else to go out with them and they use the fact that they're transgender as an excuse and why the person denying them is transphobic, that is wrong. But I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of people are generalizing these people, and I'm going to make another general assumption that most people in every queer category there are probably don't have these judgments and are probably fine with people dating whoever they want to date. One thing that's also really fucking weird about this, and it might come off as a strange observation at first, is that there's a lot of people of color supporting this movement. Now, I know this obviously seems like a weird thing for me to point out, but hear me for a minute. You would think that for a marginalized group, that they of all people would be able to understand the hardships that someone, another group of marginalized people is going through. You would be able to think that all these black people who I am seeing, supporting this movement would think to themselves, I'm also in a community of people that is constantly being put down, threatened, etc., by other people who aren't in this community, and I'm being generalized because of it. Maybe I also should understand that these people of a different community are also going through a lot of the same things I am. No. And of course, obviously, I'm not saying that every fucking person of color is support of this movement. I hope that most people, period, aren't in support of this movement. But, just have a bit of self-reflection. And this obviously isn't saying that, white people, they get it easy. No, everyone's, fucking, equally in the wrong. No matter what background you're from, you really shouldn't be doing this. Oh, and, another really fucking heinous thing about this is, how a lot of super straights are trying to insert themselves into the LGBT community because they don't have a traditional sexuality. I think this is where the whole hypocrisy thing is trying to come back in, because a lot of people say that queer people just keep making up more and more and more fucking sexualities. But I don't really think that this is really a battle that really needs to be fought, nor is this even the way that you'd win it. It's like, I don't think straight people need to be categorized into anything. That's kind of the point of being straight. And plus, many ways that gay people categorize themselves, like for example, androphilic or gynophilic, that applies to straight people too. And also, on top of that, super straight people should probably take the place of straight people, and straight people should join the LGBT community, because by their logic, they are the straightest motherfuckers on the planet. So by that logic, also, normal straight people who would date trans people are more likely to be part of the LGBT community. Oh yeah, on that note too, every single super straight person I've always seen always kind of, denies the fact that, trans people are the gender that they identify as. Granted though, I do want to point out, of course, that yes, gender is what you identify as, and sex is that what you were born as. You can obviously recognize someone's sex that they are born with, but you should obviously address someone with the gender that they identify as. And if you tell someone that they aren't the gender that they identify as, yeah, that's what this means. And what's also really funny about super straight people trying to insert themselves into the LGBT community is that, I think there was another really nasty group of people who didn't have a lot of acceptance for doing something that was morally very not correct, and try to insert themselves into this community that basically tries to seek acceptance from other people. And whenever people got upset with them, they would get angry at others and say that they weren't accepting. But I can't really remember the name of that community. What were they called? To any trans person watching this, I'm going to give you a very important piece of advice. Behave. I understand that, of course, this might be a bit infuriating, rightfully so, but I'm saying this now. If you are seeing any of this super straight bullshit, do not feed into it. Do not make, scathing response videos to it, because that is exactly what these people want. They want people to get angry, because again, this isn't out of acceptance. This is clearly just agenda-driven, because these people just are looking for a last resort to make trans people look bad. And unfortunately, some of them have already started to do that, because, guess who got a bunch of death threats? Yeah. It's quite ironic because, loving and accepting community. While most of the hypocrisy stuff that I've heard a lot of super straight people talk about is complete bullshit, this is the one thing I can understand. And again, I'm obviously aware that this only speaks to, a small minority of these people, but, again, just, I'm gonna emphasize it, learn to have some self-reflection. Now, the final thing I want to touch up upon is that this shit is all just a troll. I'm pretty sure it's clear that, a decent amount of people doing this are doing it because they think that it's funny and whatnot. Regardless if this is a whole huge troll or not, this is still, an issue. A lot of people don't want to date transgender people, and again, some of the reasons, can be valid, but a decent amount of the reasons are fucking bullshit. And, I don't want to say we should keep the discussion alive, because most people who tend to talk about politics are fucking inept and really shouldn't.
Ironic.
If you don't want to date someone, don't date them for valid reasons. Don't not date someone simply because they are trans and no other reason. Because, again, and to all the retailers, saying,
bro, we got them so hard, we managed to troll every one of those pieces of shit.
Really? Okay, so what are you really getting out of this? Are you trying to make more trans people look bad? Because frankly, like I said before, this just seems like a last-ditch effort to do so. It's I think we're all pretty aware that the SJW Rage compilations, that shows, again, I'm going to say it again, a small minority of a much larger group of people. If you just fucking hate trans people, just admit it. Like I said from the start, it's all pretty fucking stupid, and you can date whoever the fuck you want. And if the reason you don't want to date a trans person is because they are trans and no other reason, you might need to reevaluate a couple things. In that case, thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see more bullshit like this, please be sure to subscribe, and if you enjoy the video, please be sure to like. Also, feel free to follow me on any of these other shitty websites, primarily this one because I use it the most, unfortunately. And in that case, I will be seeing you guys when... Dame, dame,